What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours of nonstop MLB DFS conversation. It starts right now, taking you all the way up the first pitch. We yield to crunch time in about an hour and 15 minutes. A very intimate show, just myself and Chop. 14-game slate, big boy slate. I feel like this is the biggest slate we've had the entire season because a lot of teams have been holding those 6:40 first pitch starts. But just one today, I believe Cincinnati. I guess a lot of those 6:40 teams are on the road. That's probably how that's working. But yeah, Chop, we got a gargantuan of a slate. Not a lot of stuff to love, which is interesting. Again, we had that earlier in the week where it's a 13-gamer and nothing was spectacular. Also, one of the best hitters in the slate, Vlad the Impaler. No Vladdy tonight. He's not playing baseball for Toronto on a Friday night, which is kind of weird in a home game. But that's against his father's old team too, right? But yeah, just to cross him off the list, he would have been one of the more popular players on this slate for Toronto. Chop, happy Friday. How are things in your world?
Well, Dean, it's Friday. It's a lot to talk about here, Dean. Before we even get cranked up, a lot to talk about.
What do you got?
Number one, you missed last Friday. You were sick. TJ had to fill in for you.
Yes.
And I was telling TJ, I was telling the folks listening in chat, how good of a movie nights are Friday night in my household. We watch movies, right?
Okay.
And some movie nights are just better because newer stuff has come out or something that you really like. You were on the verge of seeing in the theater, but you held off, and now it's streaming finally after a couple months. That was last Friday. Mad Max.
What did you watch?
Furioso dropped on last Friday on
okay.
Max. So that was a good movie.
That's enhanced pretty significantly by in the theater, but the theater experience. But
you can't see everything.
An IMAX movie.
You can't see everything in the theater. So that was a good movie. Tonight, man, like we're going back to back Friday nights with fantastic movie nights. Tonight, The Bike Riders is out. I don't know if you know it. Familiar with
I watched it a couple days ago on Peacock.
Oh, whoa, no spoilers, brother. No spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil it, but I saw it popped up on Peacock. I'm like, oh, let's watch this.
Yes. So I've been wanting to see that one. So boom, going to get that one tonight. And then next week, I think next Thursday or Friday, they drop another big time movie, which I'm looking for. I was borderline going to go see it in the movie theater, but I'll wait till next Friday. It's streaming, so I'm excited. That's The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling. But tonight, big time movie night tonight. I'm going to watch The Bike Riders with little nachos. Got some nachos, jalapenos, the good stuff going on, Dean.
You say family. Is it the entire family or is this you and your wife?
Well, over the years, it's dwindled down to just me and my wife, more or less. Kids don't they used to sit there and they all used to get their blanket and their pillow and get on the couch and we'd watch a movie night on Friday. But as they get older, that stuff kind of disappears. So it's pretty much me and my wife most Friday nights, but that's okay. That's just the way it is. You have to deal with that one. You have to get used to that when you get kids. At a certain point, they want to bump you out of their life. They just don't know. And then, it comes full circle. Then later on,
they're going back to some point.
Yeah, they will. All right. So we got that going on, Dean. But then also, Dean, I also want to throw out there, number one, I signed up for some Underdog NFL best ball finally because it's late enough. I got it.
Welcome.
I'm worried about my home league, that number 3 pick. I am just all over the place, Dean, whether it's going to be a wide receiver, one of those 2 good wide receivers. I might want to go Bijan. I might want to go Brees. I don't know what I want to do with that pick. Got that going on. And I also want to say, Dean, while I'm here and I got the platform, respectfully, DraftKings, I think you dropped the ball on the pick 6 here by changing the rules here. I think you had a good product. It was about to get, gain more steam as more states got legalized into it. I think you dropped the ball. I think you're really no different now than Prize Picks or Underdog or any of these other dozen sites. I know you're going to say that if it's a peer versus peer game. That means nothing. That really means nothing. You change. Not you, but
DraftKings is going to say
DraftKings is we're different because we're peer versus. That means nothing. Like the prize money is just a slightly bit different. That's about it. Your edge, your secret sauce was all the other stuff that went into it, and you've ruined that now. Like by making the props the way they are, like changing the whole system to like mimic all the other sites. You ruined it. That's all I can say. So hopefully somebody hears this and the massive amounts of complaining I see on Twitter, and they change it back. But that's my 2
I saw
cents.
Alan talking about it. It doesn't affect me. I've never played it. I can't play it in the current state I'm in, so I don't really know exactly what's going on. But I did see they messed with how the game works. If you're still playing, Chop, if you're still playing, for the people out there, Steve in chat says it's better now. So maybe some people like it, some people don't. I don't know. I don't have an opinion. You very clearly have your opinion. If you happen to have a RG Premium, get yourself DK Pick Six. You can be helped out as far as best selections by downloading the Firefox extension. RG DraftKings Pick Six browser extension on Firefox to help you get the premium props and pick'em projections overlaid on your screen. Also, Chop, you know how like we have Fleet Thursday, we got Movie Monday. Today is Freebie Friday, and it just kind of works out. We didn't plan this or whatever. Again, if you're still playing on DK with the Pick Six, we're giving away the Prize Picks tool, the Underdog tool, the DK Pick Six tool. All three of those are being given away today for free. It gives you the edge as far as letting you know what the best odds are most likely to hit based upon the current lines. Not just for baseball. There's some NFL stuff out there tonight. I think there's a 3-game slate preseason. And, of course, college football, Chop. Georgia Tech is playing FSU. Nevada's playing somebody. I think Georgia Tech and FSU are playing in Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. So that's probably happening. I don't know when is that happening? Is that happening right now? I don't know. Or is that happening tomorrow?
Everything's tomorrow.
That's happening. Okay. But, yeah, maybe it's probably like a noon game here and 7 o'clock there, something like that. That's what kind of makes sense in my head. But, yeah, I can go ahead and drop this in the chat as well. Again, if you're in the underdog streets, the sleeper streets, DK Pick Six, all this, we're giving away today for free on a Freebie Friday. By the way, Chubb, I just want to make a confession. You were talking about your movie nights, and you mentioned Furioso. I'm the one guy who did not like Mad Max Fury Road. 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, 90% on Metacritic, like 8.1 on IMDb. Didn't like it.
What was your big gripe there?
I thought it was dumb. I thought there was no point.
Okay.
I didn't. There was no story. It looked cool. There were some cool effects. I'll give them that.
What
I guess
it
that's
is.
the whole idea. It's like
the
story was like.
I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. You never probably watched the original Mad Maxes.
Mel Gibson? I don't think so.
Okay.
Tina Turner? Was she in that too? I thought she was.
I think she was in one of them. Thunderdome, probably. She had that song.
I did not. I did. If I did, I forgot. Like I watched it when I was like a kid or something. But again, there were some cool effects, and I'm sure it looked great in the big screen. And I saw it like on my 70-inch or whatever. But it didn't do it for me. I just didn't care. Like one of the characters died, and like the end, and like I don't know who that person is. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I know everybody else loved it. But you say you like to give me a hard time, Chop. Say I'm always with the critics. I'm not with the critics in this one. Did not like it.
Well, yeah, I thought it was a good movie, but and to each his own. I could see how that wouldn't entertain some people, that style of movie. But I'll say this, Dean. I don't know what our likes are like today. We're obviously going to get the BVP suggestion of the day, the knockers later on, all that good stuff. We get 150 likes. Oh, you know what? How many likes are we at right now, Steve? I need to know how many likes we're at right now.
I know the biggest audience right at the gate. It kind of slowly builds, but maybe
we got about 400 eyeballs on this thing right now.
Okay.
I need producer Steve to chime in and tell me how many likes we're at right now.
All right. Steve's going to be popping in just a second. What are you looking for?
This guy's taking a nap. I know how he plays this thing. He puts us on air and then he goes off, takes a nap because we never call on him. How many likes do we have, Steve?
Don Yeezy's telling us in chat it's 53. So I trust Don Yeezy.
I'm at
54 now.
12 right now. If I get 100 likes by 420, I'll give you my favorite Prize Picks college football prop for tomorrow.
Ooh, I want that.
So 8 minutes.
Time or wait, 420, you're talking Central Time, Chop, because it's already
8 minutes. 8 minutes from now. Just round it up. And 420 is a nice number, Central Time. 8 minutes to give me 40-something more likes. That should be easy peasy. In fact, you should have that in about 2 minutes. Now, I give my favorite. Now, I'm not saying it's going to hit, but I've crunched the numbers, and I like it. I like it, man. That's all I can say.
Oh, Nevada SMU. Eric is telling us Nevada SMU under 50.5 points tonight. So I don't know no takes on that. But all right, is that tonight? Is there some college ball tonight? Maybe I'll watch some of
No.
that. Oh, it's all tomorrow. You said all tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Week 0. Get excited for it. Another thing to get excited for, Chop, is tonight's 14-gamer. We have 28 pitchers throwing baseballs in the slate, and one is clearly above everybody else. Chris Sale, so much better than everybody else. Of course, goofy stuff always happens, but K rate 33.6%. That's top notch in the slate. Not even a conversation. Next up is actually small sample size David Festa at 27.7%. The walks are awesome at 5.8%. That's what, the third or fourth lowest on the slate. He's got to have the lowest Sierra, 2.66 Sierra, 2.62 ERA. He's going to cost you. It's not hard to make Chris Sale work. I'm going to play a bunch of Chris Sale. And again, there are 28 pitchers throwing baseballs, and he's getting 45% of the ownership on DK. I do think it's justified. On FanDuel, ownership-wise, he's getting, I got to give it a refresh. Going to pump that up in just a second. But I guess we should start there. And then it's also not that hard. Well, we'll talk about it, but it falls off pretty quickly as far as pitchers. But Rodon against Colorado, I'm not sure, Chop, if you fired up the old Plate IQ today. Colorado, this lineup they're rolling out, their tendency to strike out versus lefties, I don't know if I've seen a number this high before. Their number, as far as collectively, the lineup versus lefties striking out, and they have 2 contact hitters in there, Rogers and Doyle. There are some small samples. Aaron Schunk, who strikes out 56% of the time. Nolan Jones is back, left on left, 41% Ks, and also no power, that's the one guy the guy supposedly gets. He's better versus righties, obviously. 31.1%, Chop. 31.1% is the collective strikeouts versus lefties for Colorado, which is a massive number. Rodon in the season, almost 26%, 31% versus lefties. There's a couple lefties, Nolan Jones and McMahon in there. For me, that's really easy to get those two if that's what you want to do. I'm curious your thoughts as far as how you're handling pitchers today. Are we having fun? We're rolling at 150, doing one lineup. What's the plan? What's the strategy?
We'll do 100 lineups, Dean, on DraftKings. Ooh. I need to try to get my money back. Last night, I thought I was there, man. I was there. I don't even know what happened. I'm gonna have to check the CSV and make sure somebody's not cheating. I don't know how people caught up to me in that late game when it was Dylan Cease pitching.
Nothing happened in that game.
Exactly. How did people come up and cross me and get past me, man? When Cease got knocked out pretty early and he was 50-something%. I don't know, but yeah, I got to run 100, and it's an interesting pitching slate. There's a few guys I like. Rodon is one of them. When you crack open this is one thing you can do is look at some of the prop sites and see, what the Ks look like for these guys. And that's the first thing I saw was, whoa, that's a massive number on Rodon for what he typically is. And it's for good reason. And you're talking about cumulative K rate. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like all 9 batters. And how many times is he going to go through the order? Well, if he's pitching decent, he's going to go through 3 times. So how is each individual batter? And they've got 7 of those 9 guys should strike out 1 time against him. If he goes through the thing 3 times, right? 7 of those guys should give him a K. And there might be another guy who gives him multiple Ks. And there might be one of those other guys who don't strike out as much that I'm not even counting that gives him a K. He's a double digit. He's got to be the odds-on favorite to get double-digit strikeouts tonight. So I like him. I think he's pitching better lately anyway. I like it. Sales super expensive. We can talk about all that as we get to it. But I like some.
I saw the line, Chop. I didn't want to not to cut you off. I saw the line. I saw 8.5, and I'm like, I think I got to bet the under. I'm going to bet under 8.5. That's just too many. I don't care what pitcher. It's Rodon. This isn't a 40% strikeout guy. But then I looked at the Colorado lineup and I just kind of backed down. I'm not betting the over. I'm just staying away. But I was tempted to bet the under. But then 8, you just don't see 8.5 as far as Ks very often. 5 more likes, by the way. You guys got 3 minutes. Get 5 more likes, and Chop will give you his favorite play in the college football streets. I believe that was Prize Picks, correct, Chop?
That's the one I really dug into. So yeah, it was on Prize Picks, but I'm sure it's a very similar line anywhere you go.
All right. I'm looking at the edges. Have you seen the tool? Are you aware? I'm curious. There's one that's really popping. Does this player play for Georgia Tech by chance?
I saw the edges. It's not that one. I know where our projection seems coming from, but I'm not quite as like confident on that one. When you see an edge over 10% on that tool, that typically means, that's pretty good stuff. But I'm not as on that one. It's something different.
Currently on Prize Picks, there are 3 that have an edge above 10% for what it's worth. I did give a refresh to FanDuel. I like to give FanDuel a little bit of love too. I always kind of forget, kind of focus mostly on DK. It's not intentional, but it's going to drive the conversation. It's probably a more interesting conversation when you got a roster, 2 pitchers. Makes more a little trickier build. 25% is the current ownership on sale for FanDuel, in part because he's just really expensive, right? Rodon is 24%. You're getting almost a 2K discount, and that salary is certainly useful. So yeah, same guys, but just the ownership a little bit different. Of course, only rostering 1 over there, so you're not chopping. You're chopping up 100% percentage points as opposed to 200 percentage points. The next best pitcher chop, arm talent wise, has got to be Luis Castillo. Kind of a little bit of a down year by his standards, I would say, but home matchup or San Fran looks pristine. Do you have a power ranking amongst those 3? Do you think you're going to have a lot of lineups of 2 of those 3? Castillo, Sale, and Rodon?
Yeah, I'll have a lot of, especially Rodon and probably Sale too, because with 14 games on this slate, and you're gonna stack, like you've got to stack, right? 14 games. There are going to be multiple teams that really break out like double-digit runs, maybe. You got to stack, right? So that's a given. And when you stack, that leads to cheaper bats that you find just naturally, because you're dipping down into, like, not everything's going to be Shohei and Freeman, and so you're going to take cheaper bats. So it lends itself to having more salary. So Sale should be pretty easy to squeeze in there. So yeah, I'll have plenty of Sale, plenty of Rodon, probably Castillo. Here's the interesting part about Castillo and everybody else after that. Sale and Rodon on DraftKings are probably going to gather close to 100% cumulative ownership. And then there's a massive fall off in ownership. Like, anybody else outside of those 2 is basically, contrarian, I would say, right? Like, that's the way the numbers point. That's the direction it points at. So yeah, I think I'll have
Birdsong is actually the guy. We currently have Birdsong getting more than Castillo. The other side of that Seattle San Fran game.
No, Sale and Rodon.
Good matchup.
Sale and Rodon are gathering all the ownership.
Gotcha.
Everything else after that is contrarian.
Yeah.
Castillo, who's the 3rd best on the slate, probably is contrarian, just based on the ownership numbers right now. So yeah, I'll be obviously overweight on a guy like that. You can't help but to be. And we'll see how it plays out. But okay, so we're at 100 likes. Dean, can I drop a little?
Is that you, or is that producer Steve? Who's got the bell?
Steve, I do appreciate that, man. I like that. All right, Dean. Here's what I would say. Here's what I would say. I'm looking at it, and it feels like, these things can go sideways. And I give these sites credit. They didn't rush these lines out so fast that they were bad. They're pretty good lines. But Preston Stone, the quarterback for SMU, passing yards 233.5 is what I got it at this morning. Like, that seems like a very low number considering the weapons he has, the type of offense. I guess what they're trying to do here is bake in that, number one, maybe it's a blowout and he doesn't throw in the second half, but he can get there in the first half with this line. And number 2, there was talk of another guy, the other QB, coming in and taking some snaps from him. But I don't think that's a first half, like, split snaps thing. That's like, I think our guy is going to get like 80+% of the snaps, which should be enough. So I got Preston Stone over the passing yards. If you want to pair him with a receiver, does not have an alpha receiver. It is so spread out. So you could just pick one if you want to start racking up some extra players. Just pick one. If he hits his 233, your guy's liable to get close to his prop. And then, whatever you want to do, you want to make it a 3-teamer, you got to make it a 3-teamer. Put something else on there. I like I like the running back for Montana State, Humphrey, over rushing yards. That's a real rush heavy attack. If you wanted a third guy, but Preston Stone, I think that 233, he's going to get it in the first half.
I dropped a link in chat. I'm being told apparently is that being paywalled? Did I drop the wrong link for people to see? Again, Freebie Friday. It's Prize Picks, Underdog, DK Pick Six, Sleeper, the tool to help you find some of the best edges. Hey, producer Steve, I see producer Devin hanging out as well. If you guys can drop the correct link, I thought I was, but if you guys can just go ahead and confirm, I would appreciate. Several people have thrown out Montero. Montero specifically on FanDuel, according to Michael. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the cheapies that are usable. You really can't miss a pitcher on FanDuel. You got to at least, it's got to be a respectable number to some degree. The next set of pitchers, Savali, I saw popping up in chat. Bibby's a good pitcher. Your guy, Hunter Brown's just not going to get played, Chop. And we know he's really talented. Just tough matchup against Baltimore, but I think you're supposed to get over the field on him if he's going to come in at 5% or so. Yeah, I'm curious. You're running 100 lineups. Do you have your pool set, or you're still kind of figuring that out? How many are in?
Not even close. Not even close, Dean. We're just too many games. I need more lineups out there and to make better decisions. But Hunter Brown's interesting. I've never really liked picking on Baltimore with pitchers this year, but
worked yesterday.
They're not. Yeah, it worked yesterday. It's worked a lot recently. They're not swinging the bat great. So Hunter Brown's in play. It's really not about the opposition with him anyway. It's about him. If he has control of the strike zone, he's going to mow through people. He's really good. If he doesn't have control, you're going to get blown up and never have a chance with him anyway. So the upside factor is there. So yeah, he's in good shape. And yeah, you watched that Arrighetti yesterday. Well, he did a number on him. So. And now,
I think Baltimore was my main team, so my net was over really quickly. So, yeah, that was I was out really. I think they get shut out. They might have got shut out.
Maybe they got shut out. They got shut out, but yeah. So he's in play because they've shown vulnerability lately. You mentioned Montero, so I don't know if I play him on DraftKings because, like you said, boy, you got some studs up top, and you really need to nail that position. And I don't know if he works deep enough into games to make that one worth it, but. Cheap enough price tag, but on DraftKings for sure. This kid's got electric stuff. He's got really good stuff, and he's had some issues. He's young and all that good stuff. But yeah, and the matchup can't beat the matchup. I really like Montero a lot, but mainly on DraftKings there.
So we had a question earlier asking about the extremes as far as umpires. I always have to remind people on a Friday night, this stuff is not set in stone. It's most likely. We know after the series starts, we know the umpires go, but this is the first game of all these series. We have 2 umpires currently set for extreme hitters. One is Chris Sale. Chris Sale has an extreme hitters umpire. Still going to play Chris Sale. The other one is Montero. Montero has got an extreme hitters umpire as well. So Montero, Gore. Wait, hold on a second. I have to give a refresh. Did more information come in? Did we get Taijuan Walker in Philadelphia also with an extreme hitters? Given the refresh right now, but looks like no extreme pitchers umpires for what it's worth. Everything else just kind of like small edges here and there and just works neutral. But looks like Chris Sale expected to have an extreme hitters umpire. Okay. So Montero, Taijuan Walker, Flexen, Sale, Waka, and Gore. So yeah, there you go. There's the extreme stuff. Do you care about that? I also wanted to add my kind of off the board guy, Chop, if I may say, is Festa. Just the K's have been legit this year, it seems. 27.7% strikeouts this year. It's a small sample, 32%, 32 innings on the year. He's been a fly ball guy. He's been unlucky as far as the fly balls going over the fence. 1.93 homers per 9, over 17% homer to fly ball. Unlucky when it comes to BABIP as well. 3.18, like a 4.96 ERA, but the Sierra is 3.43. The walks have been okay, 6.4%. I just think that the K's look pretty real. 12.8% swing and strike rate. That's really solid as well. And maybe he gets a little bit less unlucky and he racks up 6 or 7 or 8 Ks, and he's not that expensive. I don't mind him as an SB2. I think he's my favorite one for tournaments, especially when you consider ownership. By the way, Tyler O'Neill was scratched for Boston. I don't know if you caught that, Chop. It's on the screen right now. I believe Ref Snyder has joined the game. Where do we currently have? Kind of working our way down here as far as ownership. Savali at 13, Bassett at 7 or 8. Yeah, he's in play too, just because the Angels are putrid. Bibby's a pretty good pitcher, 6%. Brown at 5%. Eovaldi's a perfectly fine pitcher. Festa at 4%. So, yeah, not a huge discount, but 7-1 is certainly something I could play with. Get an extra bat or two. We mentioned Birdsong in passing. Did you have a thought on Birdsong at 20%? It's Seattle. He doesn't go very deep. We're projecting 86 pitches as a median score, as a median projection for pitches thrown. He's fine. I don't know if I love like chalky Birdsong. I don't know if chalky is the right word. He's 20%, but he's probably the first guy amongst the cheapies people are going to go to. Anything else on Birdsong? Anything else as far as any of the pitchers I've thrown out there, Chop?
Yeah, Birdsong, can he remain in your pool? Yeah, sure, why not? But I do not like the fact that 5 innings is probably the max you're getting out of him. Like you're giving up an opportunity on this particular slate. There's some real opportunity cost that pitcher with some of these guys. So 5 innings, boy, you're gonna have to make the most out of that if that's the case. In Seattle, I don't know. Maybe they're just completely like deflated. Their manager got fired yesterday, and it's been a rough couple of months for them. I don't know. Maybe they're just cooked, and he goes out there and mows them down. You mentioned Bassett. Bassett's fine. Some of the other guys you mentioned, Festa, I think he's interesting. He's shown a lot. I don't think we talked about Bayo, and I don't like this number. Like, this is a massive total. Is this the largest total of the slate? It might be. Arizona, Boston's getting a big number. But I like Bayo, though. I think he's got some talent, and like, it's a massive number against him, the team total. But yeah, I think he's got some good things working, so I could see that.
It's funny you say that. Well, we'll get the stacks. I'm sorry to cut you off, but like I was surprised to see Arizona hitting a lot of lineups. And I'm like you. I think Bayo is good. And he's also one of the guys that's been one of the more unlucky players in the league in baseball. A 4.8 ERA. The Sierra's at 4. The BABIP's too high. Big ground ball guy. He's not a lot of fly balls, but he's given up 1.38 homers per 9 because almost a 20% homer to fly ball. Now he's also got a tough ballpark as well. But I just think he's better than his numbers on the surface. And Arizona is just, they're fine, sure. But if they're going to be one of the more popular teams, and, it's 28 teams, there's really not a lot of chalk out there when it comes to hitters. Just like play the stack you like, I think. I'm a little bit afraid, and I guess we'll kind of get this later, Chop. Like in my head, it's super, super obvious what I want to do. And I'm going to double barrel pitchers, and I'm going to play Detroit. I don't know. Is that what other people are doing too? I'm not sure. But my main lineup is Detroit, who's really, really cheap. They're getting healthier, good ballpark, locked in for 9 against Chicago. And if you can play a Detroit Tiger stack on a 14-game slate in the year 2024, like how would you not do that? That's what you got to do, right? No lineup just yet for Detroit. They're asking about Hendricks in chat. Come on. I know it's the Marlins. You can't do that. How do you do that? The Marlins are terrible, yes, but there's just no upside for Hendricks unless he drops like a CGSO. He's like super efficient, which I guess is possible, but he doesn't strike anybody out, which is an issue.
Yeah, I don't know I couldn't recommend Hendricks in good faith, but I think we've gone through most of them. The only other guy I think is worthy of a notation here, Dean, is Joe Musgrove. So he's two starts back now from the injured list of being hurt. So maybe we start ramping it up a little bit with the pitch count. Maybe if we do, he's really good. I'm not scared of this matchup, and he's cheap. So maybe if you think so, and it's a GPP, I don't hate Joe Musgrove, but other than that, I think we hit on everybody else.
2 starts ago, 63 pitches against Pittsburgh, 4 1/3. Last start, 73 pitches, 4 1/3 at Colorado. He pitched pretty well at Colorado. What are we giving him as far as pitch count? Maybe 85 or so? Is that what we're guessing? That's what I'm guessing. He's not going to be owned, so I guess he's in the mix. I don't know what his upside is. Is basically, he's got no chance to get a gold medal winner. Is there a chance he ends up on the podium? Maybe it's possible he gets the bronze, I suppose. Anything else here? I'm trying to see if the chat has anything else as far as pitchers. I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. We have a bunch of teams to prioritize, to throw in some tiers momentarily. Anything else you want to say, Chop, as far as pitching tonight?
Dean, I'm looking at my list, and I think we covered it, Dean. I think we're ready to move on.
All right. We did just get a San Diego lineup, by the way. Kind of early for San Diego. They don't play for like 5 hours. Arise, Profar, Cronenworth, Machado, Bogarts, Merrill, Peralta, Higashioka, and the rookie McCoy batting in the 9-hole. All right. Steve wants to know if we're playing Maury Povich. I don't think we're playing anybody named Povich. No Maury Povich, no Shirley Povich.
Yeah, no, don't play Povich, brother.
Cade
I mean,
Povich.
You could. I'm not going to tell you not to play him. I apologize for that. If you want to play him, you can play him. I wouldn't play him.
Taking on your Astros there in Baltimore.
Just not enough. Typically, not enough strikeouts. I mean, you got to be a really good strikeout pitcher with a good game plan to rack up the strikeouts on Houston. I don't think he's there yet. He has a lot of holes in his game, and Dean, it's not that when we say Houston's a low strikeout team, it's not that they're this patient team that works counts and they foul balls off, they foul strike 3 off, and they hang in there and they do all that and they draw walks. They're a super low strikeout team because of their approach at the plate, which is swing at the first pitch. So they're very aggressive, and they're just not going to let you rack up strikeouts. He hasn't shown enough of strikeout ability to offset that, to miss bats in those first couple of pitches. So, maybe he just comes up with a career performance, but he's a guy I'm marking out of my pool.
I feel like he had some pretty decent Ks in the minors, but has not showed it at all in the majors. Currently, 43 innings, 15.5% K rate. You can argue that
he's walking more guys than he's striking out. That's not good.
Well, not exactly 11.5% walks, which is that's really bad too. I understand the point you're making. He's cheap. I guess is the best angle that people are going to have, but I just don't think I need it. And in part, again, because I'm going to be playing. I think Detroit's going to be my main team and my main lineup.
I think, Dean, we haven't done a slate where there's been 14 games in a long time.
Yeah.
It needs to be said that it's different. It's just different. A slate like this is just different. We're not – last night was 5 games, and if there was a $5,800 pitcher that maybe you could see going 3 times, grabbing you 15 points, you might be in. On this slate, there's so many offenses, so many matchups that are going to produce, so many stacks that are cheap. You don't need a cheap pitcher too. There's plenty of how much more, unless Aaron Judge does the whole foreshadowing, Dean. Unless Aaron Judge does the whole 3 home run thing, that 31 points out of Judge is not going to kill you tonight because there's so many good bats out there. There's going to be other guys who hit 25 plus threshold for half his price tag.
That is a good segue, Chop, to bats, because it was your idea, and I respect it, especially as an Astros fan. You wanted to give an homage to Aaron Judge. We power ranked jointly. We power ranked judges. We left out of respect. We left Aaron out. Aaron's not involved, but he obviously would be one, right? We power ranked our judges. Now, let us know in chat best and worst judges. It could be somebody named Judge. It could be a TV judge. It could be somebody that's an actual judge.
Yeah. I think we went on a different, I think when I first posted the thing in our Slack, I was thinking TV judge, and then things just started happening, Dean. And
Judge Judy, Judge Joe Brown.
Yeah. I was thinking Judge, you said Wapner. I was thinking those kind. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, there's a lot of other judges out there. There's a lot.
Judge Ito.
Yeah. There's a lot of other judges out there, whether it be by name or by trait, whatever it is. And Judge Dredd, I see in chat, that was one that popped up. So we went a different direction. We all encompassing judges.
Speaking of Judge Judy, nobody had a better gig ever than Judge Judy. Maybe Steve Harvey. I don't know what Steve Harvey's getting paid these days. But Wheel of Fortune. There's a reason why Pat Sajak never left that job, because you show up and you film 20 shows and you work 2 days a month. It's incredible. Judge Judy, from the years 2010 to 2020, was paid $47 million. Her contract allowed her to work 52 days a year, where she would tape 10 to 12 cases on a given day. Just incredible, just spectacular. Good for her. And now her show is called Judy Justice. I don't know why they split up or what happened there, but same judge. But yeah, good for her. She's maybe we should power rank Family Feud hosts one of these days. We can do that. There's enough, I believe. I think there's at least 5 over the years. Louis Anderson, of course. Ray Combs. Yeah, there's several. Jay Peterman, right? Wasn't Peterman the guy from Seinfeld? All right, I'm getting off track here, Chop. The chat is telling us that Judge Uncle Phil. Oh yeah, we could have went back to Uncle Phil. Wasn't he a judge on I think he was a judge, right, on Fresh Prince?
Good point, but we don't want to use Uncle Phil twice in a row.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we did mention this person who's at number 1 the other day for some reason. I don't remember the reason why we did, but shall we go ahead and reveal the board, Chop? Explain our judges.
It's done. It's revealed. I see it.
There it is.
There it is.
Did you? I was leaving it to you to talk about it.
I don't know. It was a joint effort. Mike Judge, okay? There's just been so much good content he's created over the he's just got to be in the tier 1 category, right? There's some other guys that could be there, but Mike Judge, right? He gave us some real bangers, right? What's your favorite Mike Judge piece?
Office Space or Beavis and Butthead, I suppose. The one where the future is like a bunch of idiots. The first half of that movie is amazing. It kind of falls off a little bit, but the whole name of that movie.
Beavis and Butthead was revolutionary, man.
Oh yeah, it's spectacular.
Give the guys props. All right, so Mike Judge.
I mean, it's so stupid, but it's still funny.
Judge Reinhold was kind of my call. I think that just on the basis of his 2 best movies, which were Fast Times, which is a classic, and Beverly Hills Cop, which is a classic. He belongs on this list, man, up top or near the top. So,
you lobbied for that. I wasn't going to fight you. Neither one of us had any interest in Blake Shelton. We were just looking for a judge that we had no opinions on. Neutral judge.
We were going. We were probably leaning towards putting a judge from a talent show in the 3rd spot because that's completely neutral. So we're throwing out Simon Cowell. Maybe you said Paula Abdul. We'll just settle on
worse than 3 though.
You said Gwen Stefani. I thought maybe some of those. So Blake Shelton, I think, is more neutral than anything. I appreciate his comedy on The Voice. Blake Shelton, yeah, he's funny on The Voice.
Funny guy. I don't watch The Voice.
He's the comedic relief on The Voice. He was. He's retired now from The Voice, but so he was the comedic relief. But then again, he took off on the show so much that he got overexposed. So I put him neutral. So that's going to be our neutral category. Judge Judy. I mean, I'm not a huge fan. I don't know, 47 million.
Somebody's watching that show.
Must be nice. I'm not.
My mom loves Judge Judy. Everybody's mom loves Judge Judy, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think she's giving that away to charity, so I don't think she belongs high on this board. So we're going to put her in 14. And then, of course, this was a really good call by you right here. All UFC judges, they're idiots. I don't know what these guys are looking at half the time, but we're going to put them down there. So that's where we are right now.
I don't watch a lot of UFC, but I see on Twitter, nobody's ever happy with the decisions. Every card there seems to be 1 or 2 where it's just something squirrely happened. Yeah, there you go. All UFC judges. Anything else? The judge from Harry Anderson from Night Court, remember him? That was thrown out there in chat, which I believe they rebooted. I think with his daughter.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it, but
I haven't watched it either. But there is a reboot.
That's the thing that's happened. All right. The judge from Roger Rabbit. That seems really, really specific. And we did say TV judge. So if you want to go technical, it's been probably at least 20 years since I've seen Roger Rabbit, Chop. I don't know about you, but I do not recall the judge.
I have to say, Dean, I have not seen Roger Rabbit.
Not as a child.
No.
It's pretty groundbreaking. It's sort of like what led into Space Jam and,
Yeah, or if I did see it, it wasn't memorable enough for me to remember it, but I don't think I've seen, at least not the full thing. I don't think I've seen. I do remember that there was a lot of weird people out there fantasizing about the cartoon, Jessica Rabbit or something like that.
Yes. Look, people are into their things. That happens. Also, two Utes. I consider two Utes. Herman Munster, the judge from.
That was a good show.
Well, it was a movie, but yeah,
a good movie. That was a good movie. What an ending with the whole transmission. Yeah, transmission. What an ending. What a great movie.
No spoilers, Chop. It's been 30 years, but some people still haven't got around to see. God, why can't I think of it? My Cousin Vinny? I couldn't think of the name of it. Idiocracy was named in chat. That's the movie we're trying to think of before. Well played. All right. Let's get to it, Chopper. 28 teams to talk about. First game on the board. The Yankees, one of the biggest team totals on the board, taking on Kyle Freeland at home. We got Jazz. Jazz is back. Jazz Chisholm back off the IL. Torres, Soto, Judge, Stanton, Jazz, Trevino, Volpe, Verdugo, LeMahieu. They still, it's Dominguez is inevitable, right? They have to get rid of either Verdugo or DJ LeMahieu, one of these two. They have to get Dominguez up soon enough, I imagine. We'll see. Stay tuned. Doesn't matter. DFS, we care about today and today only. And today, those stiffs are playing baseball for the Yankees. The Rockies have a total under 3. 2.9 is their total tonight in Yankee Stadium. We talked about their tendency to strike out a ton, 31% as far as Ks. The projected lineup, the actual lineup versus lefties this season, just a eye-popping number. Where do you have Colorado and the Yankees?
There's the North Pole and there is the South Pole. And these two teams are polar opposites tonight. I got the New York in Tier 1, Mike Judge, and Colorado in Tier 5. All UFC judges. I think that Rodon is like the lineup is just weak, period, for Colorado. Doesn't even matter that it's Rodon. Even a mediocre pitcher was going to get Colorado put down, banished into one of these bottom two. But New York, it's a lefty, and albeit I was a little bit surprised when I pull up Plate IQ. I'm thinking, it's the lefty mashers, man. The Yankees are going to crush this guy. Actually, outside of Soto and Judge, there's not a lot of lefty mashing in this lineup, but it's still. But his numbers this year,
not this year.
Yeah. So, what do we do with that? Is it we're going in his career when he's obviously not the peak player he once was? Because this year they've dropped, and do we take that lean more towards that? So that's a tough call. But really, the numbers in general aren't as great as you want. But it's Freeland. He's not good. It's New York in a very good environment. Yeah, I got to put him up number 1.
Brandon in chat says, I told my ex Jessica Rabbit was hotter than her. Did not go well. And that's why she's your ex. Probably more reasons to do with that, but there you go. I was seeing Chris Bryant, right? Can't help think about Chris Bryant. Worst contract, Chop. Chris Bryant or Anthony Rendon? I actually pulled the numbers up, and I think it's Rendon just because it's more money. They're both 7 years. 7 years, 182 for Bryant. 7 years, 245 for Rendon. God.
Yeah,
it's Rendon. It's worse.
It's obviously Rendon because he's not even trying to help you anymore. At least Chris Bryant's trying.
He's just injured in his back.
Yeah, he's trying to do something. At least he's probably a pretty good clubhouse influence at the very least. Rendon is like, guys.
Jason Hayward, when the Cubs win the World Series, they gave him all the credit for his inspirational pep talk in the 10th inning where there was a rain delay. I don't know what Chris Bryant or Anthony Rendon are doing, but yeah, it's tough. Those teams never spend money in the 2 times. Well, I guess the Angels do. They just pick their spots poorly. But the Rockies never spend their money, and that did not end well. All right. The Astros, I agree with you, by the way. I agree. I'm not going to argue. Throw the Yankees all the way up top. Houston, Baltimore, Cade, Povich, Hunter Brown, an 8 total. Houston is favored here, minus 124. They have the clear better pitcher. Where do you have your Astros and the Orioles?
Yeah, so Baltimore, to me, they got to go in the Blake Shelton, only because I don't know what Hunter Brown we're going to get. When he's bad, he's really bad, and this could be the best stack of the night. When he's good, you're not going to beat him with a stack, and not to mention that they haven't used they didn't have to use any key part of their bullpen last night, so those guys are well rested just in case it's a close game. I don't know. So I'm putting them in the neutral category. Houston is exactly right there, Judge Reinhold, where I would have had them, because TayeBojangles hasn't shown a lot this year. The walks are alarming. Lack of strikeouts are alarming. Gives up the fly balls. That's always what you're kind of looking for in stacks. That helps you out. And generally speaking, I only put Houston in 2 instead of 1. This is a matchup. A better offense would have been in tier 1. But man, when you get past that fourth hitter in Houston's lineup right now, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, Dean. That's the only reason I bump them down a notch, because they got about a 4-headed monster up top, but they really need to get Tucker back before you can start putting them in tier 1 again.
Is he talking about Judge Fudge Marshall? Made me Google. I don't know who that is. Apparently a character on How I Met Your Mother. That is a show that missed me. Did not watch that show. All right. But I'm sure the character is spectacular. All right, let's move on. Next game is the Angels and the Blue Jays. And it's funny, somebody, Shannon in chat said the Angels gave their GM an extension. Good Lord. I cannot believe they're rewarding there's rewarding mediocrity, and there's rewarding being the worst team in the league. They have they also have the 29th ranked minor league system. 29th ranked as of 10 days ago. They completely botched the Ohtani situation. He's been there for 4 years. He wasn't the guy who signed Rendon, to be fair. But still, how do you possibly extend the guy with his resume? Doesn't matter. I'll get off my soapbox. The Hound, Bassett, he is facing, is it just 2 lefties? I think it's just 2 lefties. We should have probably talked about him, Chris Bassett, because of how bad this Angels team is, and his split's going to be pretty dramatic. I think Bassett's in play if we're just seeing 2 lefties here for the Angels, and they're the rookie Kvedas and Chanal. Where do you have the Angels and the Blue Jays? The Angels just a 3.5 total. Toronto, massive favorite. No Vladdy, which is kind of a big deal. Really shuffles up their lineup. Wagner, big salary saver in the 5-hole. Blue Jays, Angels.
That's a massive, massive deal to have no Vladimir Guerrero. So because of the weakened lineup, I'm putting them in the 3rd tier, Blake Shelton. I really want their best hitter in there, especially when the rest of the lineup is lacking so much. The Angels against Bassett were a 4 tier for me. So Judge Judy, just not a big fan. Against lefties, certain lefties, I've said it all year. I can get behind this team against righties. They're putrid. And is Rendon in the lineup tonight? I don't even know. But Dean, I'll throw another one.
He's in there. They dropped him from the 4-hole. He's now hitting 5th. Chop, he's got 159 at bats. 159 bats against righties this year. 159. His ISO is 50.
Yeah. So let me throw one out there for you. Another one, Dean. You said Rendon and Chris Bryant. What about Strasburg? They gave that guy $250 million, and I don't think he ever pitched another pitch for him, man. But I don't know.
He pitched a total 200 innings or something like that. And then this is the same guy they didn't push. Weren't they in the playoffs? He had a real chance to make the World Series, and they stopped him because he had an innings limit or something like that.
Early in his career, sure.
Yeah, it's a general rule. I just don't want to give pitchers long-term deals like that.
We don't get off tangent.
Yeah.
We don't want to get too far off. We got a lot of games. But I legitimately want somebody smart enough. I'm not saying the chat's not smart enough. I would legitimately want somebody to tell me how Nolan Ryan could pitch 300 innings a year for 20 years, 100-mile-an-hour fastball, do all that, and never break down. And guys today break down so easy. I legit want to know what the secret sauce is. And then not just Nolan, but it was all those pitchers back then that just hardly ever got injured. Weird.
He threw 332 innings in the year 1974. His record was 22-16. He threw 239 innings in the year 1989 at 42 years old. Just every single year, basically 200+ innings, or at least close enough to 299 in 1977, 284 in 76. He just feels like a massive outlier, an anomaly.
Which is what I would say, Dean, except for a lot of guys back then threw a lot of innings and didn't get hurt. I don't know.
Well, he was good in throwing that many innings. There was guys in the 40s and 50s that pitched every other day, but they stunk. They never took him out, and even if the game's 10-2 in the 8th inning, they let him finish it up because bullpens wasn't really prioritized. There was no loogies, no closers. It is kind of wild. No Cy Youngs, by the way. I'm pretty sure no Cy Youngs in Nolan Ryan's career. A great compiler. Great compiler, but I'm pretty sure no Cy Young. Seven no-hitters, I want to say. Is it 7 no-hitters for Nolan Ryan? And he's most famous for punching Robin Ventura in the face, right? At least some people. Maybe producer Steve can throw that clip. When Ventura charged the mound on him, Ventura was like big time prospect for Chicago, future manager. 22 years old, maybe 23 years old, and like 45-year-old Nolan Ryan's like punching him in the head, like hammering him.
Nolan Ryan from Alvin, Texas, Dean, right up is my neck of the woods.
He still pops up at the. He's always seen the Texas. Here we go. You look at producer Steve all over it. Pudge Rodriguez holding back Ventura as well. One of the more famous clips in baseball. And Dean Palmer, I believe that was Dean Palmer, coming in at third base for the Texas Rangers. I probably just remember that because his name was Dean. I don't know, but there you go. All right, it's a 14-game slate, Chop. We shall move on. Arizona is taking on Boston. We're getting the slow-mo. We don't get this enough these days, right? I feel like you should get it a few more times. What's the other famous? Don Zimmer, I guess. I'm trying to think of the other famous ones in our lifetime.
My goodness.
When Pedro pushed down Zimmer.
Pedro shoved him to the side like a sack of potatoes.
He had to, though. He kind of had to. He was putting that. It was forced. He was sort of forced to. Zimmer kind of forced himself on him. It's a tough call. He had a split-second decision there. Nelson versus Bayo. One of the bigger totals, like we said, 9.5 total on the board. Arizona getting 4.5, almost 5 for Boston. I think they're going to be two of the more popular offenses. Good environment as well. Oh, I should have mentioned about that. Roth's going to be on later, obviously. Roth will be on in about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. No weather issues. Really nothing popping in weather edge. No precipitation unless something changed. Like there's nothing fantastic hitting wise. There's no great heat. There's no rain and nothing. So pretty clean week for Roth this week as far as weather. Where do you have Arizona and Boston?
Oh, boy. Boston for me against Ryan Nelson. Now, he's been better lately. He's figured some things out. But I don't, Boston's pretty good, too. I'm putting Boston in tier 2. Reinhold, I think they're in pretty good shape there. Speaking of Boston, is Wilbur Abreu in the lineup, Dean?
Batting second.
He's batting second. Here's a question for you, Dean. I'm going to get off track again. I don't care, man. I don't care, Dean. We're just going to get off track. I got 2 options for you, Dean. What would you rather have?
Yeah.
A player for the next 10 years who ends up being pretty good. Maybe even one of those years he could produce an all-star level year. A pretty good player, solid MLB player for 10 years. Or I could tell you could trade that guy at the deadline for half a season of a mediocre player, but that player helps you in some way, shape, or form win a World Series that year. And then he leaves. Which one would you rather have?
Oh, it's B. B. It's not
You'd
even a conversation.
have the World Series guaranteed.
You're guaranteeing me he's helped me win a World Series?
Yeah.
That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
It's B.
Yeah. Wilbur Abreu was a former Astros prospect. And, we could really use an outfielder right now. But we traded him for Christian Vasquez, who literally started DH the decisive Game 6 of a World Series that we won. So he was definitely – and he was the personal catcher for Christian Javier that year, who – pitched a no-hitter 5 innings of the World Series when we were down 2-1. So I'd say I traded, even though I look at Abreu now and I go, dang, I sure wish we had him, but it was all it was all worth it, right? So, yeah, I put him in tier 2.
I saw a viral clip today. Speaking of like personal catchers, personal caddies, I don't know if you saw this. Eddie Perez was Greg Maddox's personal catcher back in the day, and you see they were talking about how Greg Maddux would call the game. He would tell Perez what's coming based upon he would touch his nose and touch his ear, and he would signal the catcher what's coming, and nobody knew this. It's coming out many, many years later. And Maddox is just fascinating because
they are
like 91, 92. He got every corner, and then
it's a documentary that's coming out, and they're showing all the clips now. You're just getting little pieces of it was good, but he couldn't do that. He couldn't do that today. He wouldn't have to with the pitch comm, even though who knows if a guy like that would even want to use it. But you couldn't do it today because everybody knows everything, so they'd figure it out. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting documentary. Arizona for me is tier 4. I think Bayo's better than what this team total is giving him credit for.
By the way, 86 Jordan Alvarez, he was scratched for Houston, so that seems like a big deal. Maybe you can play some Povich. Maybe that's not completely bonkers. you get Alvarez out of this lineup, the rest we talk about how it falls off with McCormick and Zenzo and Dubon, Myers. It's I don't think it's completely bonkers to consider Povich if you need like a full salary saver. Not necessarily endorsing it, but that is a pretty significant drop. Okay, moving on here, Chop. Texas, Cleveland, 7 total, 2 good pitchers, not elite pitchers, but 2 good pitchers. Eovaldi, Bybee. Cleveland is the favorite here, but their team total is less than 4. Nothing to see here, right? I mean, it's not terribly exciting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's not. This one is not jumping off to me. I have both teams. I have actually Texas in tier 4. Don't really like those prospects. I'll put Cleveland in tier 3, just because Eovaldi is not, he's not super consistent in the regular season. So I guess maybe there's an outside chance they get to him. And if you can get into the Texas bullpen early, you've really got him in a bad spot because that bullpen is not good. So I put him in tier 3.
By the way, Chop, I know you have the BBP stuff coming later, and this isn't relevant for tonight. We mentioned Greg Maddux. Do you know how many times Tony Gwynn struck out against Greg Maddux in 91 career bats?
You're going to post it like that. I'm going to say 0.
0 times. Tony Gwynn, 0 strikeouts and 91 career bats versus Greg Maddux. A 429 batting average for Tony Gwynn. Probably not a lot of homers. 0 homers. 8 doubles and a triple. He's just that dude who can hit it. He hit it where there ain't, right? That kind of thing. Just found every single hole in the world. The science of hitting of Tony Gwynn, but just one of the more fascinating stats. 0 times striking out versus Maddux. Not that Maddux was like an amazing strikeout pitcher, but that's still pretty impressive. Okay, let's move on. All right, we're done with Cleveland and Texas. Let's talk about the Cubbies. The Cubbies at the Marlins. Not a great ballpark. Max Meyer taking on Kyle Hendricks. Not the sexiest of pitchers, but again, the ballpark subdues the runs. We're looking at an 8 total. Chicago is the slight favorite here. Where do you have the Cubs and the Marlins? Meyer has given up his fair share of homers this year, for what it's worth. If you want a homer hunt, I don't like doing it in Miami, but I saw one of the bigger numbers. What is it? It's a 2.01 homers per 9, 19.6 homer in the fly ball rate. He's been a bit of a ground ball guy, but still been unlucky when he gets hit. 14.4% barrels, Chop, which I believe that is the highest barrel rate on the slate. It is just ahead of Taijuan Walker at 14.3%. Cubs, Marlins, what do you got?
This is double Blake Shelton's for me. Yeah, there's just nothing to see here. Like, the pitching is not great, but the hitting is not great. Everything's middle of the road. Neither one of these guys big walk machines. Neither one of these guys, though, big fly ball guys. Just middle of the road stuff. Blake Shelton.
They're still talking about fights in chat. Paul saying Marichal and Roseboro. Is that Juan Marichal? That's before my time. I don't recall, but Mr. Richard saying Marichal used a bat. I don't know. I'm not aware of this incident, but maybe we can get some found footage. Let's move on. Washington, Atlanta, 7.5 total. Again, not terribly sexy. Chris Sale, the Uber chalk for good reasons here, taking on this Washington team that's not spectacular. Falls off pretty quickly. Well, wait a second. I just noticed the no Abrams as well. I did not even look to see. I just kind of assumed Abrams not in there. Call leading off. Call, Wood, Yepes, Ruiz, Chaparro, Vargas, Tana, Young, and Nunez. They're also calling up their prize prospect on Monday. Just kind of a Dylan something. I'm forgetting his last name for some reason. If you're in your season-long leagues, Chop, he's probably already gone. You're probably too late. But, DK, 2K on Monday. They're sleeping at the wheel for sure. We'll see. I'm curious what their prices are going to be. Cruz, thank you, Casey, in chat. Chop, Atlanta, Washington.
Yeah, so Washington is a no-go for me. That's tier 5 all day long. And for Atlanta, man, the opto percentage machine for RG gives them the best chance to be the top scoring offense on the slate. That's interesting. But I got them in tier 3. This is not a terrible pitcher. It's not a great left-hander. Typically, Atlanta against left-handers, I would have been all over it, coming into this year or even after the first month or so. That lineup is not that great right now after you get past a certain point. So I don't think it's. I got him in tier 3, man. I just can't get behind too much Atlanta these days.
I'd bump him up to 4. I should say Reinhold. I'd bump him up. I haven't made any executive decisions. I'm going to make an overruling. I like Gore, but it feels like he's just kind of like teetering here to the end zone. It's been a long season for him. Look at the last 30 days. 194 ISO versus lefties, 203 ISO versus righties. The K rate on the season. 23.6%, Chop. Last 30 days, 14.5%. Walks up to 10.5%. And also, he's kind of reverse splitsy as a lefty. So, like Matt Olson's very, very sneaky Matt Olson tonight. I think Atlanta's like maybe my 6th favorite team on the slate. So I think the Braves are actually pretty, everybody's sneaky on a 14 gamer, but I do like Atlanta versus Gore. So let's go ahead and bump them up to Reinhold. Philadelphia, Kansas City, Walker, 9.5 total. Kansas City getting the bigger portion at -138, a 5 total against Walker. We talked about how he's not good anymore. And this Kansas City lineup, at least the front half, is really, really solid. One of the best hitters in all of baseball. You got Bobby Witt. You got the pass squats there. Fettuccine Friday. And then, of course, Philadelphia, they have the boppers. Schwarber, Turner, Harper. Phillies, Royals, what do you got?
Yeah, little known fact here, Dean. Even though it's been only, 50-plus innings this year, Taijuan Walker has the highest hard hit rate on this entire slate out of anybody. So I got to go double Reinholds here. Walker against KC's just flat out can mash at home, especially. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they're doing anything silly there, but they can mash at home. And Walker doesn't do anything to jump off the charts. The Philly offense is good. Got those left-handers that can absolutely hit home runs. So double judge Reinhold here.
Again, reminder, it's scrolling. The freebie is today's fantasy pick'em tool. If you're in the sleeper streets, the pick six, DK pick six streets, Underdog, prize picks. I know I was missing one. That is all free today. Do check that out. I know it was dropped in the chat earlier. Maybe we can get dropped one more time in the chat. I was dropping it. I think I might have been dropping the wrong link, and my apologies for doing so. But I think we got that figured it out. St. Louis and Minnesota. Andre Palente against David Festa. 8.5 total. Twins, Cardinals. This is one of those games that not terribly exciting. There's some interesting one-offs, I suppose. But you tell me, where do you have Minnesota and St. Louis?
Listen, Festa's not bad at all. So I got St. Louis in tier 4. Judge Judy. I don't want to have a whole lot of those guys. Palante, although I don't think he's particularly good. I mean, Dean, what are you going to do against a guy that gives up about a fly ball rate of, under 25%? Like that doesn't make for great stacks. And he just kind of hangs in there. So I don't think that's a great stack. So they're Blake Shelton for me, even though, Minnesota has the only reason Minnesota is ranked in Blake Shelton and not lower is because I do like their offensive pieces. They're a good offense in general. But this is not a great matchup for a stack.
So I'm pulling up the advanced stuff on Plate IQ, and you're supposed to throw fly ball hitters against ground ball pitchers. And like you said, Palante is an extreme ground ball pitcher. They don't really have. I mean, they're all basically fly ball hitters in Minnesota. The one that jumps off the page, I guess, is the biggest number is 35.2% fly balls. That is Julien. So maybe he's kind of sort of someone interesting. But there's a lot of fly ball hitters in this lineup. They're all in the green, which is just interesting. That's somewhat surprising. Wallner 31%, Royce Lewis 30%. But I do agree with your the thought process. But I don't mind throwing one of these fly ball hitters out of as a one-off. But probably, look, I'm not making a ton of lineups, so I'm not going to fully stack Minnesota. But homer hunting, sure, that's fine, no issues. Detroit, still waiting for Detroit's lineup, right? Unless it just dropped in the last few minutes or so. Taking on Chris Flexen, Montero versus Flexen, Detroit, the favorite, -158. I said before, I want to pick on Flexen, and I want to pick on that bullpen, and Detroit getting healthier. Meadows, Green, Carpenter, I presume they're all going to be in there. Spencer Torkelson. It's been a rough season. Uber prospect. Oh, apparently it just dropped according to the chat, so let's see if we got it. Meadows, Green, Vierling, Carpenter, Keith, Torkelson, Young, Sweeney, and Dingler. This is probably my favorite team when you consider salary and just They're going to help me help me get my pitchers and get a couple either one-offs or a little mini stack that's kind of pricey. How do you feel about Detroit and the White Sox?
Yeah, Flexen was pretty decent to start the year. He's fallen off, so Detroit can go in tier 2 for me. And the White Sox are just a bad lineup, number one. And number two, Montero has found a niche here lately, good enough to where I don't want to stack against him with a poor offense like Chicago. So that's tier 4, Judge Judy for the Sox.
The Dodgers just dropped as well, by the way. Otani.
No Max Muncy. Max Muncy, power hitter out.
Yeah.
Makes a difference, team.
Lux has basically been Max Muncy of late. He's been one of the better hitters in baseball like the last month or so. Like since the All-Star break, he's been very, very good. But yeah, no Muncy in that lineup is worth noting. Edman is batting 6th. So all right, and they DFA Jason Hayward, by the way. I was wondering how they're going to figure that out with all their new bodies and people getting healthy. Pajes was sent down as well. I don't know where we're at as far as likes, but we got to get those likes up because Chop's got the knockers on layaway, and he has the BBP suggestion as well. We'll do that, of course, before Crunch Time comes in. Crunch Time, you got Will. I saw Will hanging out in the chat earlier. Will's going to be coming in, the Chief, as well as Taylor Smith. And you have Kevin Roth, Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth, who will be holding it down about 10-ish minutes or so for Crunch Time, give or take. Is there a threshold, Chop, that we need from the people to get the knockers out there? Just going to give them away because it's Friday. We're giving everything away with the Freebie Friday.
What's the what are we at right now in likes? I wish I had access to
let us know. Hopefully it's acceptable.
Access to that. You should just.
Well, you do.
126 right now.
That's it, man. Dang, we only got like 20 likes in the last hour. All right, you got 983 eyeballs on this thing. We're gonna need another 20 likes in the next 5 minutes, Dean, or I'm absolutely not giving out any knockers today.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I think that's tough, but fair. Judge Judy would be okay with that. I think that's a fair ruling. We shall move on. The Mets, producers teams Mets taking on the Padres. No Mets lineup just yet. Musgrove versus Blackburn. Where do you have? It's 7.5 total, right? San Diego.
I just want to interrupt quick and say that already jumped us up over 30 likes and shot us that.
You got to threaten.
See how easy it is, guys? See how easy it is.
It's not hard. Where do you have the Mets and the Padres, Chop?
Yeah, I'm not a huge Mets guy tonight. I think Musgrove's pretty decent, and I think the offense is very average. I just got him in tier 3, Blake Shelton. No offense, Stevie. I know that's your team, but Musgrove's not bad, and he's going to probably ramp up a little bit. And you got to take into account, Dean, bullpens, and this bullpen's really good. And if they get a 1 or 2 run lead there, you're going to get the toughest arms, and that does not make for good stackability. San Diego's a tier 2 for me. Blackburn, I'm not a believer that he's all that great. So, and I think San Diego does just enough. I wish they'd get Tatis back and have a little extra thump in the lineup, but you got to take what you got right now. I don't think Blackburn's that good. They're at home, and I think they can piece together some runs.
We still just have the Yankees all by their lonesome tonight, hanging out with Mike Judge. Let's see if that changes. The Brewers are in Oakland, probably not changing here. Aaron Savale taking on JP Sears, 7.5 total, basically a coin toss. Milwaukee slight favorite. Where do you have the Brewers in Oakland?
Milwaukee, tier 3, Blake Shelton for me. This is a matchup that they could exploit. So tier 3, they could not. Oakland is a tier 4 for me. Savali, I think, is good enough. And Oakland had their great run offensively, and they've got some good young pieces, but they're going to revert back to just being a slightly below average offense at some point, which they're starting to do now. I'll take that in tier 4.
How real are Savali's reverse split strikes? On the season versus lefties, 26.7% strikeouts, 17% strikeouts versus righties. Last year, 26% strikeouts versus lefties, 20% strikeouts versus righties. Interesting. But they only have, let's see, Butler, Blade, and Brown. They can only get so left-handed there in Oakland. It's just 3 lefties. But, yeah, that's interesting. I was trying to – Savali is a guy that people are going to unleash as their SB2. But we didn't really talk about him. I just thought it was worth acknowledging his existence. All right, Tampa in LA. Bobby Miller is back because there's some injuries for the Dodgers versus Tyler Alexander. And if Chop, if you thought Walker Buehler was bad, you should have you seen Bobby Miller? He's been worse. It's been horrendous. Also, Tampa's kind of terrible. Tampa's pretty terrible. And you're running 100 lineups. I think you're supposed to get over the field on Tampa. It could be a complete disaster, but Miller, 18% Ks in the season, 12.3% walks. That is too many. Now there's some wonkiness here, right? 2.41 homers per 9. Small sample stuff too, 33 innings, but that's a 25% homer to fly ball rate. The BABIP, the old BABIP, is 343. So he's got an ERA of 8, Chops. He's been unlucky, but still the Sierra's 511. The FIP is 667. He's been a stone disaster. He's been terrible. So I'm making the case for Tampa to some degree.
Yeah. So he's been bad, but then this is not like it was a within the organization, a barely not even a top 100 prospect. The guy had some credentials in the minor leagues. Mm-hmm. He's still young. Injuries thing. So I think some of it's 29 innings this year. I don't think that's, so, and Tampa's so bad. I still can't trust Tampa here. So I'm going Judge Judy with Tampa. Don't. And I would
put in the middle personally.
Okay. And the truth is I probably should, because I think at some point in building 100 lineups, I will have some Tampa just because, because this game in general could be a shootout, because I have LA in tier 1. They're my other tier 1 team tonight. They're just strong, and I don't mind Muncy sitting out. The rest of that stuff is still really, really potent. Tyler Alexander's not really doing much to, he's giving up a ton of fly balls. I need to get the ball in the air for my stacks to pay off.
A lot of strikes. He's a strike thrower. He's not going to walk guys.
Yeah. And I got LA up in tier 1, and if they, if they're scoring, then maybe we get the good old-fashioned, rarely seen baseball shootout. Not like a football shootout, but a baseball shootout.
We haven't seen any football shootouts. My understanding, preseason's been just a disaster as far as the product. Everything's sitting under, basically.
Yes, Dean, I did that the other day. I just went didn't even look at any of it. Just went under before all the games started. Hit like 70% of them at the end of the day. I was sweating. The first 3 went over, and I was like, what in the world? But there was like 10 games that day, and most of the other ones all went under. So easy peasy, man.
Last game, San Fran, Seattle, knockers on layaway, BBP suggestion in the game of the day. On layaway, of course, crunch time coming in just a few minutes. Roth, Taylor, Will. The Mariners, their lineup has dropped. Hayden Birdsong, good ballpark to throw baseball. Slight downgrade, because everything's a slight downgrade for San Fran. Birdsong taking on Luis Castillo. Seattle is the favorite here, minus 146, but not a lot of offense anticipated here, Chopper. Where do you have the Mariners and the Giants?
Yeah, I mean, Seattle will be in a tier 3 for me. Don't love them, but I mean, if the 4th highest owned pitcher is going to be Hayden Birdsong, then sure, I could take the other team, and get a little leverage there, maybe just a little bit. Castillo, I have no desire to stack against him, especially with a very weird lineup like San Francisco. So that's a tier 4 for me.
All right, let's sum it up. 2 teams up top hanging out with Mike Judge. That's the Yankees and the Dodgers. No surprise, 2 legacy teams. Judge Reinhold, pretty loaded there. Houston, Boston, Atlanta, KC, Philly, Detroit, San Diego. In the middle, totally neutral about Blake Shelton. Baltimore, Toronto, Cleveland, the Cubs, the Marlins, the Twins, the Mets, and Milwaukee. All right. And then we have Judge Judy with the Angels, Diamondbacks, Texas, St. Louis, the A's, the Rays. All the way at the bottom, I feel like they never budge. The worst judges, all the UFC judges, that is the White Sox, Washington, the Nats, and the Rockies. All right, Chop, the people have been waiting for it. They've been hitting the like button. They want to know the knockers and the BBP suggestion of the day.
BVP suggestion of the day. Now, let me preface this. I felt like I need to preface this a little bit. This is just a tool, Dean. There's nothing about any of these stats that are going to give you, the combination to play on any one given night, right? Like, it's just tools, right? I'm going Marcell Ozuna though to be like this was the only guy. This was the only guy that was even vaguely making the suggestion of the day cut. This was even though there's 14 games, there's just not a lot there tonight. So I'll go Ozuna though. He fits the criteria. All right. The knockers.
Did the model not see Kyle Schwarber has 4 homers against Waka in 19
Again,
events?
It's not all about the counting stats of just homers, Dean. Like
who might have questioned the model? You're right.
Yeah,
fair enough.
You can't. Don't question the algorithm. There must have been some. What's a strikeout
above
rate?
My pay grade.
Just right offhand, I have no idea. But what's a strikeout rate? Probably pretty high because the model takes all these things into consideration, Dean. All right. So now we gotta go knockers, Dean.
Let's do it.
We're going to Beantown. Some Beantown knockers out there.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, I heard they weren't. I heard the Beantown knockers. If the movies or anything, we don't really want the Beantown knockers, but I'm going there because Tristan Casas is back. I think he adds a little something to this lineup. I like the matchup. So Casas, I don't go Abreu. You're Abreu, former Astro. I got to give him some love. So let's go Abreu, Casas, some young guns out there and see if we can do it.
The reason, to be clear, the reason why I said I didn't like it is because I'm probably not playing the Boston-Arizona game. At least not much. So I'm still waiting. We get the Detroit lineups. Yeah, I'll drop the Dean Stongs in chats. Let's just go ahead and bring crunch time in. Taylor, Will, Kevin Roth. It is crunch time. Shout out to you, Roth. But you've been running pure because another day where there's no weather-related issues. Unless something popped up during the show that I missed.
No, it's great. Life is good.
And yesterday you absolutely smashed Fleet Thursday. I think it might be yours now. I don't know. But you did such a spectacular job. But I love that you made it tough. The people were upset that it was tough. But, this isn't, trophy participation. That you have to you got to earn a week free of RG Premium, right? So, and by the way, I thought for sure my mistake was Roth, and I played the game poorly. You swerved me. You swerved all of us. I'm like, well, there's no way Roth isn't going basketball. Of course, Roth is going to go basketball. And you threw hockey at us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you threw Martin St. Louis, and I'm like, you must have some ties to him. Your Tampa days. I don't know. It's in some capacity. I'm guessing.
Yeah, he's my favorite player of all time. So yeah, I always love like the small underdog. Like that's my dude. So yeah, Marty St. Louis. I have a question for you, Dean. I saw this ranking of judges. Is your indifference on Blake Sheldon based on him as a judge, or is that based on him as a person and a country music singer?
Across the board. I've never seen his judging abilities. I don't really know his music. Chop tells me that he's funny on The Voice. I'll just take his word for it.
He's great. And he's awesome. He makes great music. Dean, after you leave, listen to Old Red. Old Red by Blake Sheldon.
OLD or is it OLE? Old or old?
I think it may be OL'. I'm not entirely sure. You'll figure it out. And it'll change your whole perspective on Blake Sheldon because it's amazing.
I don't even have a perspective, so it'll just create one, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Any other discrepancies, any other issues with our board? That was kind of a joint effort. It was an homage to Aaron Judge. If you're wondering why is Aaron Judge not on the board, he was too good almost to make the board. But we power ranked judges is what we did of all capacity.
No, I thought the rest of it looked good. That was my only gripe.
All right, fair enough.
Any Your Honor viewers here? Have we talked about that show?
I've seen Your Honor. It really falls off the table in the second season.
It does.
I'm pretty sure, to be fair, that show was written to be like a mini series in just one season. And it was so popular, they said, well, we got to do something. We got to come up with something for a second season. And they tried.
They whiffed.
But it was a big old mess. Cranston spectacular.
Season 1, yeah, very good.
Yeah, season 1's a lot of fun. I think it's streaming on Netflix. It was on Showtime, but I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. But yeah, we did not get Bryan Cranston. That's a good nomination. Didn't think of that. But
not a good judge. Spoiler alert, but
he was a pretty good judge until he wasn't.
First, well, yeah,
the
don't really have a show if he's just a good judge the whole time, I guess.
It's tricky though, Taylor, because like if somebody says, "Should I watch that show?" Like I don't want to not recommend it, but I also don't want to recommend it, right?
Just recommend season 1 and go in knowing that season 2 is probably going to be not worth your time.
I would say this. You could watch season 1 and how it ends could be the entire finale for the entire series right there.
Yep.
And just be done with it because it was the perfect finale for the entire series.
Yeah. And then they just it was too popular and they had to like figure out a way to create a second season. All right, Chop, anything else before you step aside and get out of here? Make way for crunch time. I think 14 gamer, they have a lot to talk about. Think we're good, Chop? We're good? Myself and Chop, we do appreciate y'all watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. We still have over 40 minutes until first pitch. So you got Will, the Chief, the Taylor Smith, as well as Kevin Roth. Chop just did his Irish goodbye. That's what threw me off there for a second. He just dipped in the screen. All right, I'm going to do the same. Kevin Roth, take it away.
Good stuff as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. Two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got the Chief in the house, rocking that Braves hat with the little American flag going on behind the hat. Love that. What's up, Chief? How are you?
Doing good, man. It's I'm going to be out and about after this show. My son's got a football game, and so it's football Friday nights. It's a big deal.
Can I ask what position are we playing here?
Yeah, I guess you've never seen my son, so you don't know. So he plays D-line, and he plays inside and outside. So he plays both.
Okay.
You know, and he's having fun. He's actually a basketball player, though. Like, that's his main sport. Football is his second sport. So
okay. Well, I wish him many a sacks tonight. I hope he gets after the QB tonight.
Funny you mentioned that. I know we got a long slate. Funny story. The coach told him if he gets 3 sacks, he gets to play running back for a game.
Oh, damn.
3 sacks in one game, he gets to play running back. So
that's some good motivation.
If he gets these 3, you'll never hit into this.
I love it. Okay. Let us know if that happens. I'll be rooting for the 3 sacks. We got my guy Taylor in the house as well, ripping the Jolly Roger flag there on the shirt. You're such a kind person. And then the skull and crossbones, bringing Alt Taylor. What's up, man?
Yeah, got to keep everyone on their toes. Yeah, it's a pretty sizable 14-game slate, so should be fun. It's kind of a weird one. I only have 5 pitchers in my pool. The offenses don't even look that great. There are a couple that stand out, but kind of a weird one. Should be a fun one.
Okay. Well, there's nothing to talk about. Yeah. What's up?
Sorry, my bad. Messing up the vibes. I think they want to know what size my son is. He actually is a shooting guard / point guard. So he's like 6 feet tall, around 220. Like that's all right. Those are his measurables.
He's a speed rusher, is what you're telling me. He's got the speed and the size. All right. Yeah. Hey, real quick, let's a weather update. I wrote maybe for the first time all season. I didn't even have a single game to comment on the weather. There's no wind. There's no rain. There's no extreme temperature. It's just good or blah. It's just average, kind of all over the place. So no weather concerns, and that means we can turn it over and talk about the slate in general. And Taylor, if you wouldn't mind starting me off with some pitcher talk. You mentioned you've got 5 pitchers in your pool. Who do you like?
Yeah, I've only got 5. The obvious ones are pretty obvious. Carlos Rodon against the Rockies at home. Carlos Rodon in this day and age is not comfortable, but he projects insanely well. The Rockies are dreadful. They're away from Coors. Strikeout all the time. Rodon's strikeouts have also come up a little bit, so I'm just doing it. Chris Sale's going to be the SP1, I think. Overall, super pricey, but facing Washington, no CJ Abrams. Not the highest strikeout lineup in the world, but Sale's the best pitcher on the slate. He has no real faults in this game now, so I'm kind of condensed around them. Luis Castillo at home against the Giants is also a guy I'm playing quite a bit. The cheap one that I'm currently not getting to that I think people might play is Hayden Birdsong in the same game, pitching for San Francisco. He's only 6'6" on DK, and the Mariners we've been picking on all season. So I don't have an issue if you play him. The issue with him is his leash. I think the bat has him at 83 pitches right now, so not super short. But compared to the other pitchers, Sale, Rodon, Castillo in particular, the floor is pretty low, but for the dollar, he's perfectly fine.
Right.
The other 2 I'm getting to in one lineup apiece are Tanner Bybee and Chris Bassett. Bassett is facing the Angels, Bybee against Texas. Don't really have a strong take about Bybee. He's kind of pricey too, but just kind of fit into one lineup, and I think he's okay enough. And Bassett is a pure matchup thing, righty heavy lineup, and not a good lineup. So that's kind of it for me. I could see an argument for someone like Musgrove, but I'm personally not getting there at the moment.
Okay, pretty clean, pretty simple breakdown there, Chief. As you're looking at this grouping of pitchers here and you're trying to make some GPP winners, where are you going?
So I'm a little bit more expanded in my pool than Taylor today, but not by much. I'm playing some recent trends on some guys that I usually wouldn't play. Just because the slate is so big, I don't want one of these randos to just go off for 25 points and I don't have any exposure. So I'm not going to talk about Sale, Castillo, Rodon because I feel like those guys are obvious plays. So I'm just not mentioning them. That doesn't mean I don't think you should play them. I have plenty. I'm just saying everybody's talked about them, so you should play them. I'll have some Montero just because cheap pitching typically allows you to get to a lot of these bigger offenses. Like if you want to, as an example, Boston's bats are fairly expensive up top. So if you want to get to them, like if you want to play Devers and you want to play Duran and maybe you want to get some of their mid 4K guys, you're going to need some salary relief at pitcher. So I'm just saying if that's what you want to do, you're going to need some cheap guys. So Montero does make the list for me. Birdsong makes the list just because he's cheap, not because I'm a big believer in what he's going to do tonight. Same thing for Festa, same thing for Savale. Those four guys, they just make the list because they're cheap. Now, Michael Walker and JP Sears, these are some recent trends guys. Both of these guys seem to be pitching, I'm going to call it above their heads, but way better than they've been all season, especially JP Sears. Like Michael Walker is a guy that we mostly know what he is. And as long as he goes out there and doesn't get shelled, like he'll go through 6 innings and 90 pitches, pick up 4 or 5 strikeouts, and hopefully gives up a run. And, maybe they should get the win tonight. He should get the win as long as he doesn't get beat down, because I do suspect Kansas City would get the Taijuan Walker here. So I'm playing him more for recent trends. Same thing for JP Sears, who's also been, about as stellar as you can get over a 3 to 4 game stretch here. I think he's expensive, but even if he doesn't get the strikeouts, he is typically fairly efficient. And so you're kind of just relying on BABIP to flow in your favor if he's off today. So those are the guys. And then I got a little bit of Hunter Brown also for the same reason. Out of that 9K bunch, Hunter Brown's being projected for like 5% ownership for a guy that can get you 25 tonight. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying it's possible. And, as much as we love these big offenses, it's baseball. Anybody can fail. And so that's who I have in my pool tonight. Once again, I didn't talk about Sale, Castillo, Rodon. Those guys are obvious to me. Brown, Walker, Sears, Savale, Festa, Birdsong, Montero. Those are some alternates. I do think you play one of Sale, Castillo, Rodon in your lineups and then plug in one of the other guys. Let me make that clear.
Yeah.
You may get to some that are like Walker, Sears, Brown, Savale or something, but I would advocate that you take one of the big three and then pair one of these other ones.
That's a good note. And then really quick on FanDuel, where you only get one pitcher and the pricing might be a little bit different. What are you seeing over there, Chief?
For me, I think Rodon's the play. Look, Chris Sale's fantastic. That's my guy. Thanks for coming to the Braves. Chop on. I just think, in a general sense, Rodon does have the best matchup on the board today. And so that's kind of where I'm with him. I haven't really played much of him all season, but this spot, Roth, against the Rockies, and let me just say this and I'll shut up. I saw Patrick Corbin go out and get about 8 to 9 strikeouts against this same team yesterday. For those of you that don't know, Patrick Corbin is awful. And he just had a field day with this team. Now, all days aren't created equal, and I get it. But I just think this Colorado team is dreadful. And so I'm back in Rodon here.
Okay, great. And then before we move on to bats and stacks, Taylor, I wanted to kind of run things back real quick. In cash games, it seems like there's just a lot of solid, viable options. Is there a clear pairing on DK and a clear number one on FanDuel for you?
I think the pairing is going to be Sale and Rodon. There's enough cheap stuff to afford it, so that's what I would do. And like Chief said, I think Rodon's the play on FanDuel. He's 1,800 less than Sale, and they project pretty similarly. So just take the savings.
Okay, good stuff. Guys, let's flip it and talk about some of the stacks. And Chief, I will let you lead us off in that category. There are some instances where you're saving money. The chat is saying some people are trying to play double cheapy, like a Birdsong Montero, which again, you do not, you're not a huge fan of here. But what are we doing as far as stacks go here?
So let me say this, Roth. I do think you're playing your stacks based on how you're setting up your pitching tonight.
Sure.
So I think you can play it both ways. But for me, if you're asking me a favorite stack, I'm wearing this hat for a reason. I am wearing it to the game, but I'm also wearing it because I think the Braves are one of the best stacks of the night, mainly, Roth, because Mackenzie Gore has fallen off of a cliff. Now, hopefully he doesn't come out here and embarrass, my Bravos tonight. But his strikeout stuff seems to be way down. His control is awful. He's giving up runs, Roth. I mean, he's hitting 80 pitches in 4 innings. He's just, and this is now over the span of about a month and a half. So we're not talking about 3 weeks. We're pushing 2 months here. So I really like the Braves, and as long as we have had some strikeouts, over the course of the past, let's call it, month or so, where our strikeouts have really picked up. But this is kind of back to being a semi-quality lineup here. You got Harris, Soler, Ozuna, Olsen, Laureano's high strikeout, Whit Merrifield high contact, Murphy, Gio Urshela, Arcia. Like, we've got some professional hitters here. So I really like the Braves. Sneaky stacks that no one wants to play, but you should. The Marlins. Folks, Kyle Hendricks is awful. Like, he's nowhere near a great pitcher anymore. The Marlins are just also bad, but I think the Marlins have more value than Kyle Hendricks today. So I think they're in the mix. The cheap team that I think everybody's going to play is Detroit, and I really think Miami and Detroit are the same team. Like, this is really the same spot, but everybody's playing, Detroit because they're facing Flexen, and Detroit might be a little bit better than the Marlins, but the matchup to me is the same. So I really like those guys. And then the hottest team in baseball that no one wants to play, that I play every day, is the Minnesota Twins. They just keep scoring double-digit runs, and no one plays them. And I think, against Palante, everybody's talking about his low or his high ground ball rate, which I agree with, but that doesn't mean they won't poke hits through there, and he could be out of this game at some point. So I just think those are some sneaky stacks outside that maybe people aren't really considering as much today, but I am.
Okay, very good. Taylor, talk to me about, I suppose, what the chalky stacks are, and then just some of your favorites in general, considering ownership and price and everything else.
Yeah, so I think if most people are paying up for pitching, then cheap stuff is going to be chalky. That's why Detroit pops as a value stack. Chief mentioned Miami. The Toronto Blue Jays, I think, are also going to be somewhat popular against Kachanowicz. Yeah. No Guerrero either, so they're even cheaper than usual. Also worse, but cheaper. The team I'm getting to a bit is Milwaukee against Sears. I know it's a bad park and Oakland is cold, but Sears is also kind of homer prone historically. Just kind of banking on Milwaukee for some cheap power from the right side. The Yankees, of course, against Kyle Freeland look great. The Dodgers against Tyler Alexander, if you do have more money to spend on bats, look great. Tampa Bay against Bobby Miller on the other side of the game looks pretty interesting. Miller's been really atrocious this season. Not sure what happened to him, but Tampa Bay is also pretty affordable, and they do get a park boost going into LA. So I am getting to them a little bit. And then I guess you can make a case for like the Cubs against the Marlins, even the Angels against Bassett if you want something cheap and horrible, but kind of is what it is. And then I think the Royals are worth a mention against Taijuan Walker.
Taylor, fair to say that there's no real chalk? You just listed 10 teams, maybe 3 or 4 of which you thought were legitimately good options. 14 games, is it spread out enough where you don't have to worry about doing the chalky stack?
Yeah, I think the one team I'm kind of concerned with would be Detroit, because their not good and chalky-ish, but it is a big enough slate to where I don't think it's going to be like a 20% owned situation. So I'm still playing it for better or worse.
Yeah. Chief,
can I say something about that too, Ross? Yeah, Ross. Yeah. So I kind of view these bigger slates like core slates. And what I mean by that is, like, if you just find the one team that everybody tends to want to play, just scratch them out, because it's 14 games. Like, to me, the Royals are probably, in my opinion, like, outside of like the cheap stuff against these bad pitchers, the Royals to me are probably the stat. I mean, because it's a good baseball team against a marginal pitcher at best, and no one is really considering. I mean, yeah, Bobby Witt's getting 11%, but Bobby Witt gets played every day. But like, as a team, no one's actually playing the Royals a lot. So but everybody's you're probably gonna see more Yankee stacks than Royal stacks. And they're probably comparable today. Like, everybody feels like Kyle Freeland is awful. Taijuan Walker is no better. But we're loading up on the Yankees for the name value and not the Royals, who are in the same spot.
Okay, that is a good note. And I feel like that's almost a thing that happens every night, is loading up on the Yankees, or at least Soto, Judge. Not that it doesn't work out, because those guys can hit the ball pretty damn well, but that does seem to be a trend. Okay, let's go around the horn, talk position by position. Taylor, I'll let you lead us off as we move into the catcher spot.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. It's a huge slate, so I don't think anything's really going to be super chalky. The catcher I have the most is Gary Sanchez. I mentioned the Brewers being in a pretty decent spot. He's cheap. He's probably going to hit in the middle of the lineup. Don't think we have that yet, but point per dollar, he looks good. Jose Trevino in a Yankee stack. There's really nothing that stands out. Both Contrerases are also perfectly fine, just like they are every night. Alejandro Kirk as a salary saver. Dylan Dingler in the Tiger stacks is okay. And then Sean Murphy. I like the Braves call Chief made, so Sean Murphy's affordable piece in that stack.
Okay. Chief, anything you want to add there at catcher?
Yeah, I mean, I will second the Murphy call, because I do really like the Braves. I think if you're spending up, like, Salvador Perez is probably, one of the spins that I would make tonight, and probably Will Smith. Like, I don't think you're going to see a lot of spin up at catcher today, or any, especially not at catcher. Like, most, it's very spread out. And so I think, if you can get some of these bigger catcher backs like Smith or Perez in fairly good spots, it could pay off.
Okay, good stuff. How about first base?
Yeah, first base, I've heard some people talking about it. I'm going to the Braves for a reason here. Like, Matt Olson, lefty, 5,300. This is a really good spot for him. So, I love putting him in lineups tonight. If you want to hop on the Jake Burger train, it may not be too late. Like, he's just been Roth. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but I mean,
he was killing the ball, but then he kind of fell off maybe over the last week or so.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still this spot for him could be electric. I mean, he just put up 25 DraftKings points like 2 days ago. So I think he could be right back on the wagon here. So I like him a ton. Talking about Kansas City, I like Vinny P against Walker. I've heard some Tristan Casas talk as well. I'm okay with Boston. I think they'll be fine. I do like them today. On the I guess let's call it the cheaper end. Like, if you want to get to some of these Toronto guys, like Horowitz is cheap, you can get him at first or second. I think he'll be fine. Luke Raley, even leading off against Birdsong, you can get him at first or outfield. Like, those would be my kind of cheaper plays. But a lot of these guys, almost every position I'm going to play within the stacks that I like, because there's so many teams today.
Sure. Okay. Taylor, your thoughts at first?
Yeah, a lot of the same stuff. Torkelson I'll throw in the mix is kind of a mid-range Tiger there you can consider. Horowitz, I think, is going to be pretty popular. Ohtani, always, even lefty-lefty. Even as a one-off, don't have to stack the whole team to get to him. I think LeMahieu might be a kind of popular cheapie I would try to stay away from, because he's awful and old, but otherwise it's kind of it. Like, I have a lot of Torkelson. I'll throw Rhys Hoskins in there, another cheap-ish first baseman. I mentioned Milwaukee. Probably a must, assuming he's in the lineup if you're stacking Brewers.
Okay. How about second base?
Second base, sticking with the Yankees, Gleyber Torres, sub 4K on DK looks pretty good to me. I think Will Wagner is going to be the popular cheapie, though, for 2,300 on DK. Hitting in the middle of the Toronto lineup, still underpriced. Good matchup, too. Don't mind Christopher Morel in the Tampa Bay stack for some power. Not going to be owned at all, I don't think. Colt Keith, if you're stacking the Tigers. Whit Merrifield, if you're stacking Atlanta. And that probably wraps it up.
Like multiple people coming at you at the same time for being ageist, Taylor.
Yeah,
just
well, he's probably my age, so I'm allowed to be ageist against my own.
That's absolutely fair. You know what? You are excused. That is a solid point. Chief, what are you doing at second base?
Listen, second, for this to be such a huge slate, I feel like second base is so weak today. Like in general, like I feel like we should have more options, but I feel like we don't. If you're believing in Houston, I am today. I don't hate Altuve. Brandon Lau against Bobby Miller, who, I mean, man, over the past month, I think Bobby Miller has like a 4% K rate. That's not an exaggeration. I think over the past month it's that low. Brandon Lau should be, be able to put the bat to the ball tonight. At 5K, he probably feels a little bit overpriced, but trust me, folks, listen to your friendly neighborhood Taylor Smith here. Brandon Lau's a good play tonight against Bobby Miller. So really like him. I agree on the cheap end. I think it's Wagner. And he's really not getting as much ownership as I thought, Taylor. I thought he'd be maybe pushing 10 to 12%. He's around like 7 right now. So I can actually stomach that on even a large slate. That's a real small portion of the field. You also got Horwitz, who you could throw in there, which you mentioned. Colt Keith is probably going to get some ownership. I think the cheap plays are where you're going, probably mostly for second base tonight. But once again, I do like Brandon Lau at 5K against Bobby Miller.
Okay, Chief, third base.
Yeah, third base is where it gets interesting because I think you've got some options here that are off the beaten path. I feel like I'll have more one-offs from the third base area. Let me make sure I make that clear. I think third base for me is kind of my one-off category. Jose Ramirez isn't going to feel good. I actually think he's fine against Eovaldi. I think Devers is fine. Obviously, I talked about Altuve, so of course I'm fine with Bregman. You can get Berger at third also. Manny Machado is probably an ultimate one-off play, if you will. I really like him. I think Clemente, you can get him at third or shortstop. If you're playing him in your stacks, you can get him in this position also. And then in terms of the best point per dollar play at third, it's Jace Jung, believe it or not. He's the best point per dollar play. He's batting 7th, which is interesting. You can get him only at third base. So that's the key. Only at third base on DraftKings. Best point per dollar play, batting 7th. And he's picking up 7% ownership. So just want to call that out because that one caught me a little bit by surprise. The guy that cheap, batting that low in the order, is pretty much getting the same amount of ownership as a guy that's batting third or fourth from Toronto. So interesting little nugget there.
Okay, good stuff. Taylor, your thoughts at third?
Yeah, I'm mostly playing Young also just because he's cheap and in the middle of the stack I'm getting to the most. Royce Lewis I kind of like as a one-off, a pricey one for Minnesota every single day. Otherwise, Junior Caminero is someone I have a good amount of also for Tampa Bay. It's pretty ugly after that. Guys like Clement, Barger, Brandon Drury. It's pretty gnarly out there. So I'm kind of sticking with Young and then a dusting of Caminero.
Okay, bring me to shortstop.
Shortstop, you can play Clement here. Also on DK, Bobby Witt, obviously a great play every day against Taijuan Walker tonight. Trey Sweeney is the chalky tiger at this position. 2,200 doesn't feel great, but kind of is what it is. I think Tommy Edman is interesting. You can play him in the outfield too on DK, but also shortstop for the Dodgers. And maybe Willy Adames. I mentioned the Brewers quite a few times. Zach Neto, one of the few Angels you feel good about. And that's probably it for shortstop. I guess Corey Seager as a one-off, no one's going to play at all, is viable. Okay. Chief, your thoughts at short?
Yeah, definitely love Witt here. And Witt is picking up a ton of ownership tonight compared to the field. Like 11% on a 14-game slate is a lot to me. I think it's worth it. because of this matchup with Walker. Someone that I wanted to mention that I think is comparable tonight, even though I haven't really mentioned this team a lot. I really like Francisco Lindor. I don't trust Joe Musgrove here. I think the Mets are going to be fine tonight. Joe Musgrove has been stellar. A strikeout rate hasn't been anything spectacular either. So I really like Frankie Lindor, who's been, fairly, let's call it hot, if you will, Roth. He's been hot. I'm still okay with Corey Seager, who's getting folks a whopping projected 1.8% ownership. Really means we probably project them somewhere between 1 and 3. And when I can get a good hitter like this at no ownership, yeah, I get it. It's Bybee, but I don't care. Like this is the quality hitter that we're just getting no ownership on today. So I really like him. Love Willie Castro leading off against Palante. And I think anybody else, if you want to play me in your stack, sure, throw them in there. But I think that group of expensive guys, you can't go wrong there.
Okay. Then take me to the outfield.
Okay. So I haven't mentioned the Yankees, but I'm not crazy enough to not mention Aaron Judge. I don't really want to stack the Yankees tonight, like in a general sense. Like I don't mind some mini stacks. I don't think I want to go full in because I like some other teams. But I definitely think Aaron Judge is a great play here. Love Marcelo Zuna tonight. He's one of my favorite hitters on the slate, facing off against Mackenzie Gore. Let me make sure I make that clear. A struggling Mackenzie Gore. He's a guy that's just, he's unraveling here. I think people are going to have some love for Riley Green. I don't hate it. The ownership did not get out of control on him. Another spot here, a guy like Cody Bellinger, who is, facing Meyer in Miami, excuse me. I think he's an interesting spin up that people don't want to play. The Cubs have been sneaky hot. Jock Jams against Bayo in Boston. Definitely think he's a guy that you could get to. And going back to the Braves, Jorge Soler at 4K. He's another, I think, great spin today, if you will. And then one of the best point per dollar plays. I know I'm mentioning a lot of Braves, but one of the best point per dollar plays in the outfield, Ramon Laureano at 2,800, batting 5th. That's another reason why I really like these Braves today, Rolf. You can get the cheap ones with the expensive ones and still play good pitching. So I like them a ton. And last but not least, Kyle Hendricks, as he's gotten older the past few seasons, has really struggled with lefties. You're getting Jesus Sanchez batting 3rd for 3,300 against Kyle Hendricks. Really like him on the cheap end.
Okay, Taylor, you got a few names for me in the outfield?
Yeah, I like the Bellinger call. I think the Cubs look pretty good overall, so you can add Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, PCA even is kind of cheap. I don't hate that. Yankees, obviously, Judge, Stanton, primarily Soto lefty in the stack. No problem with that. Sticking with the Brewers, Churio and Perkins is cheap if they're in the lineup. Josh Lowe for Tampa. Johnny DeLuca for Tampa is okay as a punt. Parker Meadows, the Tigers have 4 outfielders you can play. Meadows, Riley Green, Bierling, and Kerry Carpenter. All should be fairly popular, but they all can't be played in the same stack, obviously. So you can mix it up there a little bit. And then maybe a dusting of Joe Adell, Taylor Ward, if you want to play against Bassett, but
dusting. How about that?
Fun.
A dusting.
A dusting.
Sounds like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
One
Little sprinkle.
A little sprinkle. Yeah. A dabbling. Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. Guys, I want you to think about some home run calls. In the meantime, I'm going to do some reads, pay some bills here. You got to get ahead of the competition. You're trying to win, trying to make the $1 million lineup when NFL rolls around. Sign up for RG Premium. NFL Premium for the season is now available. Non-premium users can get over $100 off their NFL Premium subscription. All you have to do is click through the banner on RotoGrinders. You can also get a 6-month combo sub, exclusive price $469.99, which saves you $250 as opposed to doing it month by month. Highly recommend you go that route. Or you can just check out 1 month of RG Combo Premium. That's $120. A 3-day pass is $19.99. That is still the best deal in the biz. You go to Subway, you get a footlong. It's like, I don't know, $14. You can get 3 days of RG Premium these days for $19.99. Inflation, everything's going up. except RG Premium. 3 days still, $19.99. Can't beat it. Power rank based on what is more, a dusting, a pinch, a smidge, or a dash. Smidge is the lowest, then a pinch, then a dusting, then a dash. That's your answer.
There you go.
That's the power ranking there. All right, let's see what we got. Some home run calls is what we want. Chief, I'm going to let you lead us off. Who do you like?
Man, I think Chop mentioned him, but I just have to second that motion. Marcell Ozuna. I think this is a good day for him. In the streets. I feel like he's gonna definitely send one out. How many did you want, Roth? Like 1 or 2 or?
Yeah, whatever you feel good about. 1, 2, 3, whatever you feel. If you just have one name, then leave it at Ozuna. If you got something else, go for it.
Give me Vinny P against Taijuan Walker. Really like him. And then I'm gonna go Jake Berger against Kyle Hendricks. Like Berger's been hot over a nice little stretch here. And man, he gets to feast today if he's on his game.
Okay, good stuff. Taylor, you got a few names?
Jalen Mayhew, the old man, just got scratched for what it's worth. Probably had his back act up or something. For home runs, I think let's go with Teoscar Hernandez. Let's go with Mark Vientos and Spencer Torkelson.
Okay. Good stuff, guys. We're going to open it up for some QQs. I think we got about 11 minutes or so until we hit lock, which should be plenty of time to answer everybody's question. Of course, I'm starting in the RotoGrinders Discord because that's where the cool kids hang out, and you should be in that chat. Except for Jay Brunton, who I'm just seeing this question says, who is Blake Shelton? Come on, man. We got to do better than that. Let's see. Question for Taylor from JT Money. With Birdsong's leash problems and quality start points, would you pivot to another cheap pitcher on FanDuel? That's a good question. So where quality starts matter and you get points for it, is Birdsong viable knowing that he may not go long enough to get a quality start?
That is the risk. The only issue is most of the other pitchers in that range also kind of have a similar risk, like Bobby Miller. Joe Musgrove kind of recently came off the IL, so I'm not sure on his leash. I do think I would take Musgrove as the pivot and just hope for the best, but it's kind of thin once you get down there.
Okay, good answer. See what else we've got here. FanDuel single entry, Chief. Your thoughts on Festa Fiesta? You having a Festa Fiesta in the FanDuel single entry? No.
Nope. I don't think you need to risk it today. Play one of the good guys.
Okay, fair enough. Yaz's Army got a little Baby Yoda emoji here, and he says, Taylor, I know you're stacking Milwaukee, but am I way off playing Spears as an SP2 in a large field GPP? PS, what do you think about Festa as an SP2 as well?
No, I don't think you're way off. I think Chief mentioned Spears being one of his plays as a cheapie. I think Festa's okay just because he does have strikeout stuff, and he's affordable, and there's not much else in the cheap range that you feel great about. So, yeah, I think both are playable in a large field.
Okay, good stuff. Chief, I'm coming back to you with a question from Falcor. FanDuel single entry, Montero or Savali at pitcher for the bats, or just pay up for sale and use stacks like Detroit? I think the answer was pay up for not sale, but the next guy.
Yeah, I think you play Rodon and you can still get the bats personally, but if it's between Sale and the cheap guys, then I think you take Sale and play the cheap stat.
Yeah. Okay. FanDuel Cash, Chief, I'm coming right back to you here. A question from Aside. Castro, this is Will Castro or Edwards, straight up at short, 3,100.
Castro for me.
Okay. Taylor, I'm coming to you. FanDuel Cash question. P. Meadows or Stanton? FanDuel Cash.
That is difficult because they both look good. I think I would take Meadows, but I don't think you're doing it wrong either way.
Okay. Let's see. Did we talk about DJ being scratched? Did you mention that, Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Scratched after being hit in the face by a throw during BP. That's interesting. Do we know who is replacing him is the question from Brink7. Do we know who is in the lineup with him out, Taylor?
Let me reload something. I haven't seen it yet, but momentarily we will know. It is it Ben Rice? I don't think he was in the lineup, but he is now.
Okay. Ben Rice. Is he viable? Let's say you were playing Rice. It is Ben Rice. Let's say you were playing DJ. Can you pivot to Rice, or are these two dudes you didn't want either way?
Rice is a lot more expensive, so you're going to have to rebuild. He's also hitting 9th, so I'm not dying to get him in.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's see what else we've got scrolling in just a little bit. Oh, yeah. Some people mentioned Rice in the chat. Sorry, I missed that. Diego says, Chief, sup, guys? Got some good plays for pitcher? That's how he worded it, but I kind of liked it. Chief, sup? You got some good plays at pitcher?
Rodon is at the top for me. And well, I guess I wish you would have given us which site. Because
site would be
helpful. If it's DraftKings, I think you play one of Rodon, Sale, or Castillo, and then you filter in some, the 7K guys, the 6K guys, or an 8K guy. If it's FanDuel, I think it's Sale, I think it's Rodon, and I just kind of let it roll from there.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Let's see. Chief, right back to you. A question from Power. Large field, DK, Rodon, Meadows, or Ryan Nelson and Soto?
Rodon, Meadows.
Okay. Good stuff. Scrolling down. Here we go. DK Cash. Taylor, this one's for you from Matt. Witt and Laureano, or Edman and Ozuna? By the way, we've got about 5 minutes until lock, I think.
I would take Witt, Laureano.
Okay. Third base cash play on FanDuel. Taylor, this is a question from Jerry.
Can you play Young over there? Let's see. Checking. Might be Merrifield. He's pretty cheap. Veerling's also perfectly fine. Or, it's probably those two, Merrifield or Veerling.
Okay. Andrew says, is Bybee fine in a GPP? Chief, also thoughts on Schneemann as a punt play, batting second. I feel like Bybee was one of the guys that you mentioned, right?
No, I'm not playing Bybee today. I'm not. I'm off Bybee. I don't think he has enough upside in a general sense compared to some of the other 9K guys. So that's just why I'm not playing him. I'm fine with Schneiderman if that's what you want to do.
Okay. And then Dean says, I'm pretty sure that happened, getting hit in the face during BP. I'm pretty sure that happened in the movie Major League after the dude drank Jobu's rum. I know the reference, but I don't recall. Someone says it was a bat, but all right. It's close enough. Yeah, that counts. Let's see. Chief, thoughts on Nelson against the Sox?
No.
Okay. We got another one that's just for Chief. Richard says, hey, Chief, is Brandon Lau and Will Smith a good combo in a potentially high-scoring game? I know you mentioned Lau as a solid play given his recent struggles.
Yep, don't hate that at all.
Great. Okay.
That's going to be very different. You're not going to see people spinning up at catcher as much tonight, I don't think.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. Flying Armbar says, FanDuel cheapie, Taylor, DeJong or Bride? FanDuel cheapie.
DeJong.
Okay. M says, Taylor, is Casas good for the util spot in a FanDuel tournament?
I think he's fine. Nelson's been kind of good, but don't really buy it, so I'm good with it.
Okay, great. Chief, coming to you. How low of a pitcher in a FanDuel high dollar single entry? So you don't like going low in a pitcher is the answer. That, you know what? Let me kick this to Taylor, actually, because I know your answer. It's you don't want to go lower than the top two. You want Sale or the second guy. I don't know why the hell I can't remember his name.
Yep, I want my points.
Yeah. Taylor, if you're building FanDuel single entry high dollar tournament, what's the lowest you would go with a pitcher?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't really want to go cheap either, but if you really want to, it would probably be Birdsong or Musgrove.
But you don't want it?
No, I don't.
Would you do it?
No.
Okay, didn't think so. Rodon, by the way, that's the guy whose name I keep forgetting. Rice is probably the one who hit DJ because he wanted to play tonight. This is true. Yeah, I could see that. Let's see. Chief, Casas and Murphy at catcher, or Alonso and Trevino on DK in a tournament?
I'm fine with that. Casas and Murphy. I'm fine with that for sure. Love that.
Okay. All right. We'll go to Dakota's question. Taylor, Sale and Bassett tonight. DK. I don't even know if this was a question or if this was just a statement. There's no punctuation. So we'll pretend it's a question. Sale and Bassett tonight. DK.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Cleveland Picker. Taylor, FanDuel complete the stack with Hunter Renfroe or go Kyle Isbell straight up?
Renfroe.
Chief, you liked Ramirez as a pay up at third?
Yeah, going to be real sneaky. Nobody's playing him tonight.
Okay. We'll go to Wee Majors question. Chief, right back to you here. Last man in on FanDuel, Iglesias or Myers?
I'm assuming he means Iglesias from the Mets and Myers from Milwaukee. Ooh, give me Iglesias.
Okay. Guys, we are roughly 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes until lock, probably closer to 1 minute. Hit that thumbs up for us. It is free content. All that we want is eyeballs on the show to continue being able to give you free content. So smash that like button for us. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, because we want to give you as much free content as possible. But if we're not getting the eyeballs, it's probably not going to happen. So for you, I'm not asking for me, for you, hit that thumbs up if you like the free content that we've got going on right now. Less than a minute until lock. It looks like we've answered just about all the questions. If you have a last second question, get it in. It can be about baseball or dinner. My tummy's already rumbling. Power says, thanks, guys. I'm almost done with MLB. I'm ready for NFL and NBA. Looking forward to your guidance. Thank you. We will be here to provide it. Taylor, where do you stand here as far as your interest in baseball? Is it waning? Are you like, I'm over it and I'm ready for NFL? Or are you still locked in?
I'm still playing the same amount that I've played all year because there's nothing else going on, so might as well play it. I'm excited. I don't love NFL as much as everyone else, I think. I mean, the prize pools are the main attraction for me, but otherwise it's just kind of there. But yeah, I'm excited.
I feel like you can successfully be a donkey in NFL and like luck your way into things, whereas in baseball, I don't know. I suppose you can, but it never works that way for me. Like NFL, I find to be easy in a way because everyone's overthinking things. And I'm just I'm just going to pick random dudes and maybe they get touchdowns and then I'll be okay. Like,
here's why I like NFL.
Yeah.
Unless we've got like questions. I like NFL because it's one main slate a week for me now. Like the Sunday slate is like the slate. And then Showdown to me is like its own thing. So, and Showdown has these bigger slates, but if you're playing single entry in Showdown, like you typically have some form of an edge. If you can get a little bit different in a couple spots. So that's what I like about football. You play like 1, 2, 3 slates a week. That's pretty much, it's 3 slates a week, or 4 if you include the Sunday Night Football Showdown. So 4 slates a week, and I can still get all my baseball in or basketball when it comes up. So it's fun. And then you get college football on Saturday, which is even more incredible. So like this is about to be sports heaven right now, Roth. I mean, DFS heaven is upon us.
Yeah, I don't know if college football is my least favorite because there's 82 games and everyone's like, hey, how's the game for the West North Mountaineers? And I'm like, now I've got to Google like who are the West North Mountaineers? And then I got to figure out, do they play inside? Do they play outside? Where do they play? Oh, they play in Idaho, but they've got a game this week is in a random ass place that's not in their normal place in Idaho.
Ireland or something.
Yeah, right. In Ireland.
I'm sorry, Roth. My bad. That was very insensitive of me to our standing meteorologist.
That's just bubbles up in me every time college football comes around. I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna be slammed with their 82 games a week. But I am excited, certainly for some NFL and, like you mentioned, some Showdown as well. We have literally all the content you could ever fathom on RotoGrinders. We're already pushing it out for baseball, and we just we ramp it up as football comes. So make sure that you are staying with us. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube and sign up for RG Premium, because obviously all the best stuff, that's behind the paywall. You got to pay for the real goods. Otherwise, the business wouldn't work. Mario Don Easy says, good luck, everybody. Yeah, good luck to everyone out there. Same says Derek. I think we're going to bounce on out of here. King shouting out the good luck. So for Chief, for Taylor, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.